Hi guys, it's Michelle and I'm really excited to be back because I was kind of going through some shit, just feeling super anxious, like not even for any particular reason, and that's kind of like the deal with anxiety and other mental illness is that you kind of don't know why. Like there doesn't have to be a specific event in your life, it just kind of happens. I made a video about it a week ago. So I decided to not post for the rest of last week, but now I'm back. I'm feeling a little bit better. I finished my finals. I passed my classes somehow, which that's cool, I guess. Also, sorry if I like look weird. Like I don't know if you could see that there is like black and gray marks all over my face. It's because I just dyed my hair. Like my roots, just basically the same color as it always is. But yeah, anyway, today's video I'm actually super excited about because I find it to be so interesting and just so weird. It is all about the rapper Eazy E. The story is honestly super messed up and super dark, and I don't know, I really believe that there is something deeper going on with it, but let's get into it. So Eazy E was actually born with the name Eric Lynn Wright on September 7th, 1964. Eazy E was born in Compton, California, and he grew up to be a super famous American rapper who performed not only not only on his own, but also in the hip-hop group called NWA. NWA consisted of other artists like Arabian Prince, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and obviously Eazy E, and later on they also added DJ Yella and MC Ren. So Eazy E and NWA had a very successful music career. Eazy E also worked with Ruthless Records. He worked to like create that. So Eazy E was doing really well, especially for such a young age. Sadly, this all came to an end on February 24th of 1995 when the rapper Eazy E was actually diagnosed with HIV/AIDS. Something to know about AIDS is that most of the time people can have HIV for like 20 years before they actually like have AIDS, which AIDS is like the thing that's like actually going to like kill you in the long run. A lot of people can live with HIV and treat it, though there's not like a cure for it. But people can live with HIV and treat it, and you know, it's a disease, it happens. But it's a sexually transmitted disease, but it can be transmitted by blood as well, and there's like a lot of different ways that you can get HIV. However, what's weird about Eazy E that we'll go into in a second is that he didn't know that he had HIV his entire life. Then in 1 month he's diagnosed with AIDS, and then all of a sudden a month later, on March 26, 1995, he died at the age of 30 years old, which is super sad. That is so young, and it's also really weird to see someone of the age of 30 die of AIDS. Because like I said, usually people have HIV for 20 plus years before they even have like the actual AIDS disease. I don't know, I'm not a doctor, it's kind of hard to explain. My sister's in med school, so she was like explaining it to me, but essentially it's something that can be a long-term disease. So if Eazy E were to get this sexually transmitted, he would have had to have had it probably 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, which obviously the kid he would be like 10 years old, so that's really unrealistic. So because of this and because of the weird circumstances that we're also going to go into in a minute, a lot of people speculated that something darker actually happened to Eazy E. One of the first like key things that you need to know is that none of Eazy E's sexual romantic partners tested positively for HIV. This obviously doesn't make sense, as it was believed that he got AIDS from a sexual partner, though if none of his sexual partners had AIDS, then that doesn't make sense. So it's later believed that he probably got it from some type of needle, some type of drug, like use like with injections, which is a really big possibility. But we're also going to get into that in a second. And also none of his children tested positively for HIV. A lot of things don't really add up with this whole thing so far. And it's not just conspiracy theorists who believe that this was super weird. A lot of those close to Eazy E actually even said that the timeline just doesn't add up at all for the way that he died. So some of these people that are close to him believe that he was actually injected with HIV purposely and he was basically murdered. This sounds like an outrageous theory, and it sounds super crazy and just insane, but if you really put it into perspective, it actually makes so much sense. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is something that Suge Knight has said. If you guys have watched my videos for a while and you watched my video on Tupac and Biggie, you definitely know who Suge Knight is. But if you don't, he is a very, very famous American music producer. He basically started Death Row Records, and Tupac was signed to that record label. They had like a big war with Bad Boy Records, which was Biggie Smalls' record label. It was really a huge thing in the 90s. Suge Knight is just someone who is very much involved, let's say, with the Biggie Smalls case and the Tupac case as well. But if you really want to like understand more like what kind of person Suge Knight is, definitely watch my video on Tupac and Biggie. I will link it in the description box below because it just kind of puts this entire story into perspective even more. So in 2015, Suge Knight was on Jimmy Kimmel. Guys, I don't know why I said 2015. It was literally 2003. I don't know. I messed up because 2015 is when Eazy E's son posted about like a clip about this from 2003, if that makes sense. So I just messed up when I said it, but it happened in 2003, obviously. 2015 wouldn't make sense because I'm pretty sure Suge was incarcerated at this point. Also, it was like way closer to when Eazy E died, obviously, because he died in like 95, and yeah. Okay, bye. So in this interview with Jimmy Kimmel, he said,
if you shoot somebody, you go to jail forever. So kids, you don't want to go to jail forever, right? So they got this new thing out there. People sell them all the time. They got this stuff they get blood from somebody with AIDS, and then they shoot you with it.
Oh,
so
that seems bad.
That's a slow death.
Yeah.
An Eazy E thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
An Eazy E thing. And I'm not saying that Suge Knight was the one who murdered Eazy E, but I mean, it's a possibility, and it's also a possibility that even if he wasn't, that he might know who did. And it's so weird that he said it so matter of fact, like this is what happened to Eazy E, because they all had rivalries. Like, you know, it was just the rap game in the 90s, like everything was like back and forth. Not only that, but they did know each other, so I feel like it is an important thing to note that somebody who knew him even thought that this was like the case, that he was injected with AIDS, which is so scary to just even think about. After this interview, Eazy-E's son, Young Eazy, posted this clip of Suge Knight on Jimmy Kimmel saying that his father's death never really added up to what people have always said. You know, it's kind of like a Michael Jackson case almost, obviously really different spectrums, but it's to the point where like his kids believe that something was up, that he didn't die like the way he actually died, or at least like he did die of AIDS, but like people think that he died because he was injected with the disease rather than getting it sexually transmittedly or even doing drugs or anything. So I don't know, I think that's super creepy in itself. Another piece of evidence is from one of Eazy-E's proteges. BG Knockout wrote a song in 2011 called In My Prime, saying, quote, "The way my big homie went out, he didn't deserve it. Try to say he died from AIDS, but Eazy was cold murdered," end quote. So when BG Knockout was asked to like elaborate on this, because obviously if you say something like that, you're gonna be asked about it in interviews, he said, quote, "I believe in my heart somebody did something to Eric, whether it was Jerry Heller, Eazy's partner at Ruthless Records, whether it was Tomika, which was his wife at the time of his death, I have yet to really know the truth about. My little brother, his father died from full-blown AIDS from sharing a needle because he was an addict. Now I've seen this man go through the stages from HIV to full-blown AIDS, and when you get a cold or anything like that, your whole immune system shuts down. Now to be around Eric for the last 3 years of his life and never had an episode like this, never ever, something is strange," end quote. And I agree with that, because when people have HIV, it's like it's a disease, you have a disease, so anytime you are sick or anything like that, your immune system is going to be like messed up and it's gonna break down, and it's gonna be a lot worse than like somebody who doesn't have HIV's standard like cold. So that is super weird that he never saw any signs of him having HIV in his whole life, which theoretically 20 years, if he were to have it sexually transmitted, he would probably have to have it for at least 15 years to see him going from like, you don't just, like, get AIDS. Like, that's the thing, is, like, you don't just get in, like, he could have, like, what makes sense to me in perspective is that he could have been injected with somebody else's blood, like the needle kind of thing, and the person had to be pretty far along with having HIV. So that's like the only thing that can make sense. Otherwise he would have had to have it for a decent amount of time before he died, or before he even developed, like, from HIV to AIDS. So it doesn't add up, like, at all, pretty much. It really doesn't make sense to the entire thing. But something even weirder is rapper Frost, a label mate on Eazy E's Ruthless Records, said, quote, "I'm gonna tell you what happened with Eazy getting AIDS, and I believe it to this day. And I don't care if you got it on film, you can tell the world. They gave him tainted needles with acupuncture. Needles that tainted him, they gave it to him." I don't want to say that name because it's the devil's name, but another name in rap. If you know your history of rap, calls him the devil. How else would somebody die that fast of AIDS? Have you ever heard of someone dying in 2 weeks of AIDS, bro? Come on, man. It's just unheard of, bro. End quote. So it seems like a lot of people, especially in the rap world, believe that something else was going on because people know how corrupt the entire rap, like, game, I guess, is, and it's so intense. And especially in the 90s when you saw so many rappers dying, like Tupac, Biggie, Eazy E, like, there was just, like, a lot of death surrounding them, and it was a lot of conspiracy as well. Now we're gonna go back to talking about Suge Knight, the record producer. So like I said, Suge Knight owned Death Row Records, and Death Row, like I said, was always in competition, like all the record labels were, like they still are today. Though with rap culture, I feel like it was more important, like it was more like East Coast versus West Coast. There was just, like, a lot always going on. So Eazy E's partner, Jerry Heller, claimed that a very interesting conversation about Suge Knight happened between him and Eazy E.
And Eazy said, "You know this guy Suge Knight?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I'm going to kill him." I said, "Let me think this thing through." I said, "We're the most successful startup record company in the history of the music business, and you want to kill this guy? And you know something? Should have let him kill him. I would have done the world a favor. He would have done it for sure.
Should have let him kill him. I would have done the whole world a favor." Which is like a big statement to say, I would say. Like, that's kind of a lot. Though it's so speculated that Suge is just such an asshole, like a bad guy. Like, not even an asshole, I don't even think would describe him. I think maybe that's the devil Frost was referring to. It kind of makes sense. Gosh, like, you guys just, I feel like you guys really have to watch the video I did about Biggie and Tupac, because it explains so much about Suge Knight's character and about the, like, corruptness. To me, it's pretty clear that Eazy-E's death does not add up. There's a lot of things that don't make sense. Not only does no one in his, like, sexual history or his children have HIV, they all tested negatively. There's just, like, a lot of holes to the entire thing that don't add up. I mean, and not only does that not add up, like, just in general, but Suge Knight is definitely someone you don't want to F with. He scares the shit out of me, so don't sue me. I think he's in jail. Like, it's fine, probably. You know, Eazy E clearly threatened to kill Suge. I don't know if this potentially got passed back to Suge Knight, that Eazy E wanted to kill him, so that's why Suge did it first. And like I said, I'm not saying that Suge did kill Eazy E or that he knows who did it, but I mean, it's just kind of the way that it sounds like the story's going. Kind of sounds like what people might believe happened, and we probably will never know. It'll probably remain unsolved forever, because first of all, they think that he just died of AIDS, like, normally, I guess. Even if there was something suspicious back in the 90s, the LAPD was, like, super corrupt, and you will, like, literally learn that in the Tupac and Biggie case. It's so important to note that the LAPD was super racist and corrupt at the time. That's why it's likely Tupac's case and Biggie's case will never be solved, specifically Biggie's, because Biggie's case has so much evidence. It's literally insane to me that this case is still unsolved. I feel so bad for, like, Biggie's family, because I think it's messed up as hell that this case is unsolved. But either way, Suge Knight is clearly connected to the Biggie Smalls case, and in my eyes, number one suspect to the person who killed Biggie Smalls. Not physically did it, but had someone do it for him. Like I said, just watch the video. Obviously, not 100% saying that this happened. Don't sue me. I don't know who did it. I don't know if anyone did it. I don't know if it was just a random thing. I don't know if he really just died of AIDS, Eazy E. What do you guys think about this case? Let me know in the comments below. And if you guys like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Like I said, I want to know your thoughts on this case in the comments, but also, do you believe that he was murdered? Do you think that he wasn't? I don't know. You guys have been asking me to do this video for such a long time, like since the whole Tupac and Biggie video, which makes sense now that I've researched it because Suge Knight is always connected into these things somehow. But that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram because I'm always posting really dope ass shit on there. Subscribe for new videos every single day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!
He walks away, the sun goes down, he takes the day, but I'm grown, and in your way, in this blue shade, my tears dry on their own. I don't understand, why do I stress the man?